Hi everyone, I'm Michael from Blue Road Home Studio. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome. We are going to be using Reaktor 6 and Logic Pro to create the sound design that you just heard on that short clip of the inside of a spaceship. And we're actually going to go and create another sound from that sound, still using Reaktor 6, and we're going to create this atmospheric kind of sound that you're going to hear in this video clip. So we're going to have a lot of fun with Reaktor. And the main purpose of this video is just to get you more comfortable using Reaktor if you're new to it. So if you're a seasoned user of Reaktor, this probably isn't a video for you. This is more designed if you really want to get into using Reaktor, you don't know too much about the program, and this is just to show you the kind of things that you can do and to get you experimenting with it. I do have an intro video to Reaktor that I did. You can click on the link above, and that kind of goes through the very basics of Reaktor. I also have another video that I did called The Fun That You Can Have with Reaktor, and that's more of a musical element and styling, and you can click on that link as well. I'll have the links to both of those videos below. Those are older videos. You'll notice an older intro. I did them a couple of years ago. But you can still get a lot from those. The only difference is in that the fun that you can have with Reaktor video is the file system changed a little bit. So I referenced in that video the Reaktor factory library R2. That doesn't exist anymore. They just put everything in the Reaktor factory library, which you'll see today. Reaktor is a great program. I use it all the time. I specifically work with some independent video game companies, and a lot of times these smaller independent companies, they hire me to do both the music composition and the sound design. So Reaktor is great for both. This video is going to be a little on the longer side because I'm kind of taking you through everything and explaining everything so that you can get more comfortable using Reaktor 6. So without further ado, sit back, relax, and let's get into the land of zeros and ones. All right, we have an empty software instrument here, so we're just going to go ahead and we're going to open up Native Instruments Reaktor 6, and we'll go with a stereo instance. Now you should see this startup screen when you first launch it. Some of you may not. If you don't, it's not a big deal. You just go up to this file menu here, and then under the file menu, go to Preferences, and then under the General tab, on startup, show start screen. You can enable it or disable it now that you know where it is. We're going to be working in the play menu. That's where all of the ensembles and the presets are, and that's basically where we can really get working fast. If you go into patch, you need a little bit more knowledge of how synthesizers work, but you can build your own synthesizers using preset module units, and you just cable them together. And if you're really an expert, you can go into build, and that's where you build the modules from the very, very ground up. You build everything from the very, very start. You can have a lot of fun here, but you need more experience and you need to kind of know how synthesis works, but it's something to kind of work up to when you're learning Reaktor. So go ahead and open the play menu here, and you will come up with this rack, and it may be empty or you may see something different. To fix this, let's just go up to File, New Ensemble, and now we have an empty rack. And the reason for that is Reaktor usually opens up with the last instrument or ensemble that you were working with. So now we have an empty rack because we just reset it. Go into edit mode. You'll see a split screen here. Don't worry about that right now, but go over here and just toggle that off. That's how you toggle the split screen on and off. We'll talk about that later. And again, this is in edit mode. So we're in edit mode. We have an empty rack, and now I want you to go up to your Reaktor factory library. Okay, there's a folder in there called Reaktor Factory Library, and that is right under your Player tab. Now underneath that folder, when it's open, you'll see some subfolders, and you may or may not see some of the instruments in here that I'm seeing. It just means that I may have some that you don't, not a big deal, but you should see that Reaktor Factory Library folder. If you don't, All you have to do is just go up to your file, preferences, that same menu, and then go into directories this time, and you'll see factory library. Now you may have to search for where this is, but usually when you install it, it just kind of defaults to this location. So you may just have to find that. Now that we got that all set up, let's go to Reaktor Factory Library again, open that folder, go down to the synthesizers folder, open that, and I am just going to go down here and open the Carbon 2 ensemble. This is a really old one. At the top here, you'll notice this missing man formation. That's a snapshot. It's just a preset. So I'm going to go ahead and just play this preset for you. Okay, so that's what that snapshot or that preset, whatever you want to call it, sounds like. I was just hitting a single note there. If you toggle this I switch on, it can be helpful for you because when you hover over all the controls, you get a little dialog box of what everything does. I'll just turn this off for now, so because for the tutorial, I don't want stuff popping up. Now, let's go up into the edit menu here. Now, we're gonna go into that split screen that I told you about there. Okay, now you'll notice it splits the screen into two. There's a front side and a back side. The back side is where all the cabling happens, and it kind of shows you the foundation of the instrument. If I double click on the Carbon 2, which is the ensemble up here, we go a layer deeper, and you can see that there's a bunch of modules cabled up. I'll open this up so you can see it better. These are all modules cabled in. Now, each of these split screens has a top menu, and this is where you can go in and out of the layers. So you can go back to the front view. If I go up to the top layer here, you see a panel. It says panel, and then it says Carbon 2, panel, Carbon 2. So look at the top here. I'm just going to switch back to panel. And then if I scroll down, you'll see we have the front view. Click in. I can go to the back side, switch back to the panel. You can do this any combination you want. You don't necessarily need to use a split screen. You can go ahead and close out the split screen. And again, at the top here, we can just go to the carbon layer, and that's the one right below. So it's up to you if you want to use a split screen or not. Now, let's go to the library tab. Again, you'll probably see some different folders in here than what I have. It's not a big deal. It just depends on what version of Reaktor you have, or if you have Native Instruments Complete or Ultimate. Also, just take note, there's Reaktor Player, which is free, and then there's the Reaktor Full version. I'm using the Reaktor Full version, but if you are on the Reaktor Player free version, you should be fine for this tutorial. We're going to go ahead and look in the primary folder here, open that up, and we're going to go down to Studio Effects. There's a folder in there called Studio Effects, and under there, we see a bunch of .ism instruments, and those are basically instruments. Effects can be instruments in Reaktor. I'm going to grab this tape delay and just drag it into the rack, just like that. Now, if we look on the back side here, or if we just go into the split screen so we can see both simultaneously, I'm going to pull these outputs out. You'll notice that the tape delay is not connected. Okay, so I'm going to select the cable, it turns green, I'm going to delete it. I'm going to select the right cable and delete it. And I'm going to move the tape delay in between. Now I'm just going to cable this. So I'm going to go the left out to the left in, right out to the right in of the tape delay, left out to the output, right out to the output. Now the tape delay is patched in to the signal chain and we can hear it. So you can hear the delay is working. Now I think I'm going to add a phaser. Yeah, let's add a phaser to this, and I'm just going to drag it. You can actually drag it on the backside like that, and if I go up here, you can see there it's already added. You can move this around any way you want. You can just drag it. Makes it a little neater up there. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out the outputs a little bit here. Now again, this is not connected, so we have to connect it. So I'm going to move this up. I'm just going to delete the cables, and then I'm going to reconnect it just the way we did before. Left to left, right to right, left to left, right to right. Now the phaser is now patched into the signal chain. And I'm messing around here with the rate and the feedback a little bit. Now I'm glad this is happening because you can see I'm kind of clipping here. Reaktor can get a little loud sometimes. One thing that I want to show you, if we go up to mix, I'm actually in pre-fader metering. I'm going to turn it off. Most of you have this off, okay? And you'll see here, it's just going to 0, which is still too hot, but it's not showing that it's clipping. If you go into pre-fader metering, no matter where your volume fader is set, you'll still see the true level of your signal. And this can be helpful because it sometimes clips and you don't know it. That's a tutorial for another time. You don't have to be in pre-fader metering, but I do recommend that you open a gain utility and you bring that gain back and have that on all your instances of Reaktor, because Reaktor as an instrument can get pretty loud. Just having that gain utility can help you out. Let's bring a flanger into the mix here. And again, it's not connected, so we got to follow the same steps. Now, I want to show you what to do if you're trying to delete the cables and you accidentally select the modules too and you delete the whole thing. So you just deleted your output module. So now you won't hear anything because we don't have an output module. Or we don't have a left and a right output module. So what do? You just right click, go built-in module terminal, and go output. And there you go. We have output 1. Do it again because we need a stereo output. So built-in module, go down to terminal. We're going to just hit output again. And there you have your out 2. So you have your out left and right, or out 1 and 2 for stereo. So now we can go ahead and connect the flanger like we were going to. This happens sometimes, so I wanted to show you how to get that back because it can be a little frustrating to find that. So I'm just connecting the left to the left, the right to the right like we did before, and now our flanger is now connected. So again, if you accidentally delete those, you know how to get it back. Now our flanger is in the audio chain along with the other delays, and we'll go ahead and play it. I'm just adjusting the feedback, and see my levels are kind of hot here at points, so that's why we have this utility gain plug-in here, because I can just bring that audio back down so you can control it a little bit. And I'll probably bring it back. I'll just leave it around there. It's probably fine. And now we have good levels there. And now we have kind of an interesting sound going here. I'd probably modify this more, but for the tutorial, we're just going to keep with this snapshot with the added effects on it, or the preset with the added effects. I'm just going to go and take the split screen out. Now I'm just going to use my keyboard and we're going to play this in. I'm just going to hit a single note. We're going to kind of create a pad-like effect here. So I'm going to just hold down the note, let it go for a bit here, maybe for 8 bars or a little over 8 bars, so we have some room to play with it. And I think that's going to be enough. So now we have our MIDI note that's going to create the pad. Let me go ahead and quantize this. Just make it a quarter note. Now we're going to add some automation to this sound. So we're going to start playing with some automation. So let's go up into the automation, open that up, and we're going to go into latch mode for this. Now with all Native Instruments products, you can right click on any of the knobs and you can MIDI learn anything to either a keyboard controller or a MIDI controller, whatever you want. I'm going to control this phaser just with my mouse, and we're going to do it in latch mode. I'm going to do the rate of the phaser. So all we have to do in latch mode is just press play, and then I'm going to control the rate with my mouse. There you go. So I'm just kind of going up and down here, just using my mouse. Again, you can map this to a controller, it doesn't matter. So I'm just messing with the phaser rate here. And that's just giving it a nice kind of oscillation on the phaser, which I think will add to our sound. So now we can automate another sound, and I think we'll go with the flanger rate. So again, we're in latch mode, and I'm just doing this with my mouse, and I'm gonna hit play. Now I'm modulating the rate of the flanger with my mouse. And it's probably easier if you use a MIDI controller, but again, if you don't have one, mouse is all you need. And by modulating these rates, you're getting kind of a better exaggeration of this oscillation effect. So the sound is kind of coming out nice. It's sounding nice and sci-fi-ish. You can go to town with automation. You can add way more automation. You can add way more automation than what we're doing here. But I'm going to keep it simple because otherwise this tutorial will be too long. Okay, so we're going to take this a step further. Now that we have the sound and the automation, I'm just going to create myself a little loop, and I'm going to open up a new instance of Reaktor. So we'll open our software instrument, and we will just take my automation off there because I don't need to see it. I'm going to go and open a new stereo instance of Reaktor 6, go into play. Again, you'll see the last synthesizer that we used. Now, under the factory library, we're going to go into the effects folder. And this time, we're going to just double click on the band and electric ensemble. This is a reverb, delay, phaser, kind of all in one thing, but we're going to use it as an effect to affect the synth that we created up here. But we're going to do it by sidechaining it. So again, the name of that was the missing man formation. That's the preset we were using. So on the band and electric, we are going to go up to the sidechain and set it to the instrument missing man formation. So now we are sidechained to our original synth. I think it might be called the Banan instrument. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. So again, I would set up a gain plugin and just turn it down because it can get a little loud. So here we go. Now again, I have this sidechain. You could set this effect up directly on the channel, or you could send it as a bus, but the reason I have it sidechain is for a reason, and I'm going to explain it. Now I'm just going to stick with this snapshot. You can change this if you want, just by clicking on up there. You can go, we could try something else, like maybe Phase Screamer. We could try this other snapshot or preset. I'm going to turn it down a little bit. I'm just trying some things out here. I think I actually kind of like the deep space better for this. And you can mess with all the parameters, and you can go really deep with all the parameters on here. I'm just sticking to this actual snapshot just to keep it simple. Now stick around to the end of this tutorial because we are going to do something even further. But for right now, I want to show you something. I want to bounce this out as a loop, okay? So I have the loop up there set. Now we're going to bounce it in real time, not offline, because we need this bounce second cycle pass. Okay, so we're going to do a real-time bounce second cycle pass. And what that's going to do is it's going to create a perfect loop. It's going to record once through, and then it's going to take the information on the end and put it back on the front, record through again. And that way, when I pull the audio file back in, we're going to have a perfect loop. So best way to show you how this works is just to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to go ahead and bounce this out. Just going to go ahead and name it, and we're going to go ahead and bounce it out. Now this method of bouncing, it takes longer, but when you need a perfect loop, this is a real great way to do it. It actually saves you a lot of time in the end. I have to do this a lot for video game companies, especially mobile video game companies, because I'll have to send the music or a sound design piece, and they need it to loop perfectly. And this is a great way to do it, bouncing with this second cycle pass, and you'll see why as soon as I pull the file in, as soon as it's finished bouncing. Okay, now I'm just going to grab that file in and pull it in, and we can listen to it. I'm going to loop it, and you'll see that it's seamless. I'm going to go ahead and mute these other instruments, and then I'm going to go ahead and loop this. And we'll start it from there. And you hear that? It is a seamless loop. Try it again. I'll copy this over again. Let me move the playhead forward a bit here. And again, you don't hear the loop, which is what you want, because then I can just take this, put it in WWise or Fmod, or the animators can put it in whatever program they're using to mix the audio, and you'll have a seamless loop. Okay, so we're going to go a step further here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete these loops here. I'm going to delete this audio channel. Now, we're going to do something interesting with our side-chained effect here, okay? We are going to unmute the side-chained effect, and we're going to keep the original synthesizer muted. So now, when I play this, you're going to hear this. Now this is great because we aren't hearing the original signal, we're only hearing the sidechained signal. And it creates this really nice atmosphere, this kind of alien solar wind, so to speak. So we're gonna record this in. Now, if you'll notice, when I hit record, nothing is recording. And what we have to do is because we're sidechaining the sound, we have to set up an audio channel. I'm gonna set up a stereo audio channel, 1 and 2, and then we're gonna take the output of this sidechained instrument and we're gonna send it to bus 1. You can select any bus you like, it doesn't matter. I just have that one available. Now, for the audio track, we're gonna set the input to that very same bus. So we're just gonna go down to the input of the audio track and set that to bus 1. So now we're just routing the signal there. Now when we hit record, I can record the sound in. And again, we're just recording the sidechain sound effect, and this is really cool. You can use this on a horror movie. This would fit really well in kind of an alien planet type landscape as like a background sound. And again, this can be looped or whatever, but the sound overall is kind of interesting because we don't have the sharpness of the original sound. We just have kind of what's being filtered through. So you get a nice pad effect here. And again, this is some of the many things that you can do with Reaktor. And so there you go. With just some minor changes to the ensemble patches and some creative routing, we came up with a couple pretty interesting sounds that work pretty well with those videos. Now you can get into Reaktor and you can start changing all those parameters and you can go crazy with that automation, and there's no telling what you can come up with. The point of this video is just to get you kind of working with it, get your hands in there, so to speak, in the DAW and working with Reaktor 6 so that you can go in there and start experimenting with stuff. Best way to really learn software is to just get in there and start working with it. Hopefully this video just kind of gave you a better understanding of how to work with Reaktor in there. It gives you some options at least to get started. So if you enjoyed this video and if it helped you out, please subscribe. Also, please give it a like. You can ring the bell for future notifications of whenever I release content. And for now, have fun with Reaktor 6 and leave any questions you may have below. Keep being creative and keep producing music.